Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Charlotte Downing, and Sarah Martin's here with me as well to do today's webinar. We're going to talk about HandiCalendar and DSAs and how HandiCalendar can support students attending university. So I'm Charlotte Downing, as I said, and I've come to Abilia to have a look at the education sector and see how we can support students, I guess, using assistive technology and getting students more engaged with education and more engaged with university. So our focus essentially today is going to be entirely on HandiCalendar and how it supports students and how we're going to push it forwards. So Handi's been around for 20 years so far in various kind of versions. Abilia bought HandiCalendar in, I want to say, around 2016. But it's had 20 years of kind of encouraging independence and encouraging support for people remotely, and encouraging independent lives and skills management. So it's available on iPhone and Android, and you can be used with the Apple Watch as well, which is really fantastic. So you can get little updates on your Apple Watch with it. So yeah, at the minute it's 20 years old, and we do our research and development in-house, which means that we can kind of, it evolves with education and with support, which is really, really useful. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat box. Sarah's going to take care of those. So Handi is an app, as I say. It's available on the Google Play Store or on the App Store on iOS and Android. You can use it on a tablet, you can use it on a smartphone. It essentially kind of manages your tasks, manages your routine for you. You put in as much or as little as you want in terms of content. It will give you alarms. It can be alarms for different reminders, various different kind of reasons, and activities and routines. So it's always got a countdown and a red line that goes across, so it tells you where you are with each lesson, with each activity. And you can create checklists for routines, for habits, for things that need working on, things that need support. We're going to switch to a team viewer look at the actual HandiCalendar, and hopefully this will work. Bear with me for 1 second. So I'm hopeful that's a live view of my HandiCalendar screen. So this is what the app looks like on my iPad. Essentially, I've put in a biochemistry student's first year study at university. Obviously, students aren't in university at the moment, but this is kind of how a routine would look if COVID hadn't happened at the moment. So our Thursday routine is quite a simplistic one. You can kind of pop in, and it says your morning routine. It'll alarm at 7:30 to wake you up. You do your shower, check that off, brush your teeth, check that off, have your breakfast, check that off, and then close that activity. And with each day that comes, it will tell you what needs to be done. You can have quite kind of simple instructions like boiling a kettle, making your breakfast. You can have more complex routines like catching buses to university and catching buses around campus. It will give you your reminders of what you need at each point, what you need to do, to be ready. And it can give you kind of suggestions in terms of what could happen if something doesn't happen, if you haven't got your bus, if your bus doesn't come on time, if you haven't got your bus pass, you can add those kind of things in. So I'm just going to quickly run through kind of how it looks, and then we'll show adding in various tasks. So that's just an average kind of day. Different buildings, different professors, and things that you would expect. The great thing with this is that pastoral support workers can also add into it, as well as families. So if you've got a student whose usual routine is going to change, perhaps a member of staff is off sick, or a routine is going to change in terms of where a seminar is going to be held or where a practical will be held, you can add those things in, and the student will get that update in real time, which is a fantastic sort of support, which means that the student is prepared, I guess, for the changes that could happen each day. And so we've got, sorry, I'm just going to go through on the Sundays one. So we can add in things like making lunch, for example. You can add in a URL, which means that student can access different recipes, different kind of suggestions for ideas of things that they want to eat, and different kind of life skills that they need to kind of have for university life. Living away from home from the first time can be really kind of daunting, and you can have checklists with personalised photographs. So you've got you know, your washing machine, your wash liquid, you've got your details in terms of personalising your handy calendar so it is entirely just based for the student's life, which will really, really help in terms of them building a positive routine at university. So it's quite a simple way to put into it. You literally just go to the calendar menu, you can add activities and type in what the activity needs to be. Add your photograph. You can have one of the stock photos that Abilia will send with the handy calendar that kind of come up as a standard, or you can use the ones that you take from your iPhone, for example. You can use ones that are already kind of on your phone, so you can have your student's mug. You can set your date in terms of when you want it to be. You can set the date in terms of if you want it to be an ongoing task, so you can have sort of a repetitive task. So if you've got a student who goes to the same library 4 times a week at a set time, you can have those instructions exactly at the same time every single week, and tailor it. You can set times and alarms for that student, and you can colour code it. So if you've got a student who has perhaps anxiety and needs support with managing that anxiety, you can perhaps put red if something's going to be quite a high anxiety task or something's going to be quite a difficult task. They know that that's going to be quite a challenging one. On the information button at the bottom, you can add in as much or as little extra information as you like. So if you've got a student who, for example, goes to a dentist appointment, you can pop a note in about how the dentist might behave, how they should behave. You can put your checklist in and run through what needs to be done, what needs to be ticked off. You can personalise that with your photographs again with the checklist, and you can use the checklists that are already there as standard ones. So that's your standard kind of, remembering your keys, your purse, your phone, the usual kind of stuff that you need when you leave the house. You can also add in a voice memo. So you can record your own voice to give a student instructions, which is fantastic, because if you've got a student who, if they may perhaps panic in a situation, if the bus doesn't come on time, or if they've locked themselves out, you can record your own voice, or a pastoral worker can support a student remotely by just doing a little voice reminder, which makes it a lot more personal. You can set timers. So if a student's brushing their teeth and they have a kind of difficulty with remembering how long teeth brushing takes, you can kind of set a timer with that. Bear with me. And you can add obviously pictures, and you can link to URLs. That's how you pop a URL into a student's timetable. So if you wanted to go to a YouTube account where they've got a set amount of study or remote skills, pop that into there. And the last one is addresses. So you can pop an address in and it will come up with a Google map of that address, which is fantastic. So I'll show you those on this one. So this student on a Saturday has an appointment at the dentist. It's in red because it's potentially a high anxiety task. You can kind of colour code it. You can put an alarm on it if you want to, and you can put in the map of where they need to be, and it can take you straight to the map to take them where they need to be, which is fantastic. So yeah, HandiCalendar is a really, really great tool. It can be as nuanced as you want it to be, so you can make it very, very simplistic and have sort of life skills, personal hygiene skills, and self-management skills. You can have study skills, so if you've got pastoral teams that need to support a student in terms of managing projects, you could perhaps put, this week we're going to study this task, next week we're going to study that task, next week we're going to submit this challenge, and it manages the students' time, manages their sense of what they need to be doing and when they need to be doing it. It's quite a simple aid in terms of managing it. It doesn't take a lot to input this information. It's just a case of popping the information in, saving it. Parents can, if they want to support the student remotely, they can do that. So parents can add in, so they can have that on their phone or on their tablet. They can submit information if they're going to go to university and pick them up and bring them home for a study week or for a holiday. Those things can be added. As I say, pastoral support within universities can also be added in to oversee the account and to also manage the account, which is really useful because it means that they will know obviously where the student needs to be, what they need to be doing, Parents can check whether tasks have actually been done as well, which is really, really good, because that means that they've got that oversight in terms of what the student is doing and whether they're managing their time appropriately or not, and whether they're effectively kind of studying well at university and accessing everything that they need to be accessing. So yeah, no, it's a really lovely kind of support aid. And as I say, it can be tailored in terms of whether a student wants to study and needs more support with study, whether they want more support with getting to and from lectures, whether they need the personal life skills, or all three. You can adapt it to where they need to be, what they need to do, and how they manage themselves. So yeah, it's a really, really clever app. I'm just going to check the chat box and see if anyone's got any questions yet. Sorry. Right. So I think I've run through all of those. If anyone's got any questions about the actual app and they want to see any of the different tasks and how it manages those, feel free to pop them into the chat box. That's fine, and we can run through them. I'm just going to come out of this one. Sorry, bear with me. So yeah, the task management basically kind of tells you where you need to be, what you need to be doing, and how to do those things and how to access those tasks that you want to be managing. And it's all focused on increasing independence and increasing time management for students, which I really, really like. And I think, yes, Sarah's going to speak to us now about myAbilia and how that can be an add-on to HandiCalendar to support students.
Hi everybody. There are some questions in the chat box that have come through, so when we get to the end we'll kind of run through them all together just to let people know. I've answered a few people, but rather than dip in and out of slides and get confused along the way, we will leave them to the end, but I've been marking them as questions on the way. So myAbilia is the cloud version of the HandiCalendar app, and it allows anybody involved in the care of that user to have access to that calendar. So you can log on any device. You can log on through the internet, or you can download it as an app onto your device as well. It looks different to the HandiCalendar. You can see on the screen in front of you. You have an overview of the person's calendar, and this means that you can dip in and out of the person's calendar. You can also have access to multiple calendars. So if you're a support worker working within the university and you have multiple students using a HandiCalendar, then you can click on a button and group manage those calendars. So it means that you can click on any of those calendars. You can add things to a group as well. So if you, for instance, are supporting a group of 5 people and those 5 people are all invited to a support session or something like that, then you'll be able to add that support session into all of those 5 users as well. You'll be able to manage the calendar. You can check things like if certain tasks have been ticked off, which would be great for a professor if they are checking to see whether that person's keeping up with their study and they've put in study time. That study time can be marked as checkable, which means the student actually has to tick to say that that's been done. So it gives you a really good opportunity to manage that person using it. And also you can have carers and parents or family members that may be helping as well. So things like the life skills, if you're putting in how to do the washing, then a parent can check to make sure that that washing's been done and been ticked off. And if it hasn't, it might be that that person's struggling with that one aspect, but everything else is working really well. So it allows you to give a really kind of tailored support to that person by seeing what they haven't ticked off and what they may need help with. Also, if you've got somebody like a parent or a family member that's dealing with things like appointments, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, then again, you can add that into the person's calendar for them with all the details without having to ring that person and make sure that they've written it down somewhere. It'll be in there for them. You can use, when you're setting up the checklists or when you're setting up the activities within myAbilia and in HandiCalendar as well, I think this was one of the questions that's come up. There is a picture library, but you can also just use text. It doesn't have to be pictures. And you don't have to put the text in at all. It'll just show us times. So it's really dependent on the person using it and whether they prefer pictures, whether they prefer symbols. If they're already using a symbol-based communication system, then you can add that in as well. Or whether they would just prefer words. Another quick one that's in My Abilia is Vacation Manager. And that means that you can set up a university timetable for the whole year and then just take out in blocks anything that constitutes a school holiday. So if you've set it up for the whole year and you've got a week's worth of downtime or a week's worth of study time where the normal is going to change, then you can take out that whole block in one go and replace it with what you need to. And you can choose what you take out. So things like the personal hygienes and morning routines and cleaning, that will stay in. It will just be the study stuff that comes out. You can also copy and paste activities. So if you've set an activity up and then it needs to be moved to another day, you can copy and paste that over. Or if you need to reset that for another week and you've only set it up as a single, again, you can copy and paste it. And you can set up templates in My Abilia as well. So if you've got something like the washing machine, how to do the washing, how to do the shopping, how to clean the bathroom, for instance, you can set all those up as templates in My Abilia, so that when you click onto your app to add anything, you can just use the template that's already been created for ease. I think that's everything on My Abilia, so I'm going to hand back to Charlotte.
Oh, that's really interesting to hear all those details. Thank you. So yeah, the HandiCalendar and the My Abilia, it's we get asked this quite a lot, where people kind of say, which conditions does it support, which outcomes are you hoping for? And it's a very difficult question to kind of to answer, because there's no one set condition that we would support. We would aim to kind of go for, I guess, just neurodiverse students in terms of autism, ADD, ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia, and students with learning disabilities. So if a student, for example, has autism, for some students this won't be the right solution. For others, it will be a great solution, and it is very dependent on the individual. So each individual kind of comes with, their own kind of abilities and their own needs. But for students who need more kind of time management support and more routine planning support within living independently and being and studying independently, Abilia's solutions can really help engage them with university life, which has got to be a really good thing. Our aims basically are just to improve really positive routines for students, build better communication for those students, reduce their anxiety where we can, because routine management is shown to have a really positive impact on anxiety for a lot of people. But also to increase HE attainment and retention, because for a lot of students who are entitled to DSAs actually don't claim them, don't use them. And at Abilia, we really believe that we can kind of make a difference to those numbers of retention. Because obviously living away from home, it's a huge step for a lot of students. If we can kind of implement this with DSAs, then we can kind of support students with those initial steps in terms of living away from home, which is fantastic. I think Sarah might have just dropped out a little bit. Oh, she's back.
I'm back.
There you go. So Sarah's going to talk to you about Sam and Sandra Gasson for a moment.
So Sandra Gasson is probably one of the first people that started using the HandiCalendar when we launched in the UK. She's an occupational therapist, and she also runs the autism team for Kent County Council. So does all the outreach work with her team for people living independently in the community. Her son is autistic and has been through university, and Sandra supported him through university using the HandiCalendar. So there's a link at the bottom of Charlotte's slide here which takes you through to the full case study that's on our website, and there are quite a few user studies on our website as well. But obviously Sandra's one is relevant to university students. So she, from afar, using the My Abilia, would program the whole calendar for Sam to help him get through the kind of basics that we take for granted. So remembering to have a shower, remembering to put your deodorant on, remembering to take medication. So the kind of things that a mum would do at home anyway for their children. but she could do that from afar using the HandiCalendar. And again, use the HandiCalendar for things like the how-to lists. So how to do the washing, how to do the cleaning, how to do the shopping, all those kind of things. And remembering to eat. I remember Sandra telling me that was one of the things that she worried about with Sam. My son's exactly the same with his autism. He will forget to eat when he's out of routine if I don't tell him. So it's a really great story to go and have a look at. So if you get a chance to have a look on the website or use the link below, then have a look at Sandra's full story. As I say, she supported her son through university, and actually got to a point where in the story there's a lovely part where she talks about him going to a Comic-Con convention by himself for the first time, using his HandiCalendar to get there, and the fact that he was supported in this way and that she was able to go away and have a holiday for the first time with her husband. So it made a real difference to their lives. What's that?
So yeah, do you want to go through the questions box, and we'll have a quick kind of look through and see which questions we've got.
Chris messaged, and I started typing it back. It's quite a long message to type back, so I thought I'd quickly run through it now, and then we can put it in an email. When you set up a HandiCalendar account or a MyBilia account, you can set it up as a user, as a support person, or as an admin person. The admin person has their own account, and they go in and they can create profiles for students, and they can add and take away licenses. So it could be that that person or that university, if the university ends up buying them, would buy maybe 10 licenses. 10 students would try it, one didn't like it, so the license would then be taken off of that student account and into a brand new account for a new student, so the license can be used. So that's kind of what the admin person does, and the admin person can also add support people to the user account. The support worker account, they don't have their own HandiCalendar account, because they are literally just a support person for that one user, or possibly 2 or 3 users. And if that's the case, then they'll be able to go in and out of various different calendars. They can be set as read-only, so that they can't make any changes and they can just read the student's calendar. Or they can have full access to the calendar to make changes. For instance, like Charlotte said, if there's going to be a member of staff change or a room change that needs to go into that person's calendar beforehand, so that they're ready for that. And then you've got the user account, and the user can invite their own support people as well. So a support person can't add another support person. The user has autonomy on who they want to be their support people, and the user can take them off as well. So if they have a support worker that changes, then they can take one off and they can invite a new support worker. So hopefully that's cleared that up a little bit, and it gets a bit confusing with the different license types. Who else did I manage to look through? Pat asked about training, and I'll pass that over to you, Charlotte, because I know that it's slightly different with the DSA one.
Yes, so you can access obviously the DSA recommended software and hardware through the HSPs. So our plan is to set up training webinars and how-to videos, so that the training can be used to kind of show from the DSA assessors point of view. They can go to the students and kind of show a 2-minute how-to video, or a quick sort of 5-minute example of how MyBilia works, and how HandiCalendar works. We can do one-to-one training online quite happily at the moment. Obviously, ordinarily we would say we would kind of come out and see assessors, but we aren't able to do that. We can do online training quite easily, and as I say, we're going to go through some little how-to videos and pop those online on the YouTube account, which means that you can kind of see how to input details, how to input a routine, how to use MyBilia to populate the HandiCalendar, and just basically how to integrate it into a student's life more thoroughly. So I'm just reading Mike's question about the DSA. It is DSA approved, and it was approved, I think, in February by Student Finance England. So it does come under the context of, or to the box of disability and course related. So it is kind of ticking that box. So it can be accessed through DSA funding, which is really, really useful.
Something I was going to add on about training is we do have a help desk. I don't know if you mentioned that. Did you mention
No,
the
I've
guys
not
in the
stuck it
office?
it's on the page.
Yeah. So we have a support desk in the office as well, 9 till 5, which people can have access to as well. And if you send emails through to any of the regional managers, they'll help you out. Sue Bullock asked about, can you use text instead of just the images?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which are kind of covered in the My Abilia.
Yeah.
But if you do have any further questions on that, just let us know. We can show you how that looks. Chris Collier has said, what is the cost and how do assessors recommend it?
So the cost is £160 for a year's licence. So if a student goes for a 4-year study course, they would pay a 4-year price, and there would be no kind of subscription or renewal subscription fees after that. And I think, yes, Sue's asked if they can continue to subscribe to this post studies. Absolutely, because I think once this becomes a kind of a routine management support, absolutely, if you needed it for an extended period, once you're out of university, once you've graduated and heading into the world of work, you absolutely could kind of continue to use this and continue to subscribe to this as a live kind of tool rather than just as a one-off for university or for studies. Definitely.
Pat, oh, there's quite a few coming in now. Bear with me. Let me get to it. Pat asked, how does this differ from Brain in Hand, which seems similar? I don't know if you want to take that one. Do you want me to take it?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. So yeah, I would say Brain in Hand is a fantastic tool. It's a really, really fantastic tool. I would say that they focus mostly on mental health and anxiety management and support, which is obviously a huge thing for students. Whereas I think ours is mainly focused on routine management and independence management. And I guess the two kind of, they have sort of similar threads, but yeah, Brain in Hand is very much sort of a mental health support tool. And we tend to kind of say HandiCalendar is more just a remote kind of support tool for independent living and encouraging more independence for students and for people in the workplace as well and in education.
Yeah, I think ours is a much simpler solution. It's very much like Charlotte said, based on scheduling. You can add emotional support in using your notes, but it's basic and it's made to be basic. So those are the main differences. Pat has asked, is it SAS Approved, which is the DSA equivalent in Scotland? And I know Charlotte can answer this because this is something we're talking about this week.
Well, we are absolutely working on that at the moment. We had planned to go up to Scotland last month, but obviously with the COVID situation, we ended up kind of having to cancel that appointment. But yeah, SAS have said that they can recommend it because they're going to follow Student Finance England's lead with this, and so they're happy to recommend it. We just need to go up to Scotland once we're allowed to travel a little bit more freely and start recommending it for Scottish students, hopefully.
And Chris Collier said, to confirm, the DSA price includes the access to My Abilia so that students can add tasks through a PC desktop.
Yeah, absolutely. It includes both. So once you've got your HandiCalendar license set up, you or your remote support worker can access My Abilia, and it's all kind of covered by the same cost. And so you can choose to access it either through the app, through the online desktop PC, and just kind of add into the library of support however you need to do it. But yeah, it's included in the price.
One thing you may have covered, I might have missed it, but is that you can use it across devices as well. So you may have an iPad, an Android phone, and a PC, and you can use it on all 3 of those devices. So if you add something on your PC, it will show in your Android phone and on your iPad as well. So they don't have to be all the same device. If a parent's looking at it as well, they can look at it on a different tablet. I've got mine set up on Android phones, Android tablets, iPads, and my iPhone and my iWatch. So it integrates between all the devices, and whatever changes you make on one, the other devices will get a notification. So for instance, as a parent, if you added a doctor's appointment for somebody in next week, then that person on their device would get a notification come up to say that there's been a change to the My Abilia account so that they can keep track of those.
We've just had one quick question about Wales and Northern Ireland. As with SaaS, we are also working on Wales and Northern Ireland. Once we are free to move around, we're going to pop down to Wales and to Northern Ireland and get it approved for both of those locations. So it can be recommended across all of the home nations rather than just Student Finance England.
There was one more as well sent about demo licenses, so you can try it.
Yes, so if you do want a demo license, it's free to request one, and we can send you one over. You can have a tinker with it and just email us and let us know which address you want it sent to, and we can get one sent over to you. There is also a pre-populated account. This is this one at the bottom under the HandiCalendar symbol, which is the UK demo post 18 ed. If you want to download the app and log into that one and have a little tinker with it, you're more than welcome to have a quick look, see how it can be used, see what a student can kind of do with it, and that one's free. And that one's free to have a quick look at. Sue's just emailed saying, can you confirm once a student receives this that you'll make contact to train them in its usage? Yeah, we are happy to support students and to liaise with universities as well to ensure that students can implement it and can embed the use of it rather than just kind of having the app but not knowing really how to use it. So yeah, we're happy to do that.
I think that's probably about everything.
Okay, that looks like, yeah, I think we've answered all those questions. If anyone's got any further questions or any queries, anybody wants a demo license, please feel free to contact us and we'll get straight back to you. We are recording this, so we're happy to send out a recording if anyone's missed anything or wants a quick run through with anything. But yeah, no, thank you ever so much for joining us, and thanks Sarah for all your help as well.
No worries.
Thank you.